Welcome back to this next video. We're going to be digging through the keys section on my new single, Hand Rolled. All right, let's jump in. So I'll just start off with the intro here. The keys. So we have this little pan flute section going on, giving some texture here. And I set up this envelope follower, which is a Max for Live plugin. And then essentially what it does is take in whatever information's coming in, and then it will modulate anything else within the project according to some parameters you set on it. So as the sound comes in, I'm modulating the noise level of the J37 and then the wow level. So you'll see here that the wow rate is changing and then the noise is changing. It's just giving it this modulation, breathing a little bit, which I loved. The synth lead is the Mini Monster by G4 Software. I'm arpeggiating it and then running it through tape emulation, this lossy filter, which simulates kind of like bad cell phone service, which I freaking loved it. And then this filter, auto filter, is kind of moving with it. And then we have this primal tap that's also being automated, and I'll show you what's happening. At one point, I freeze it, and then I start to adjust the timing of the delay. And you'll see I'm bringing up the mix here. I'm freezing it. And then the delay is coming down slowly. And as it gets shorter and shorter, it kind of gets this Mario Kart thing. Yeah, so that's a lot of automation on this track. But we also have this really interesting thing. I call it just the intro loop. So that is just one chord held down, and then I run it through this homemade tape loop and ran it back into Ableton. So we have sort of a synth part there, a flute part, a choir, and then a trombone-ish part that kind of comes in and then stops. So it's sort of just setting up this intro. So you hear the keys here, specifically the piano. The keys really drive this entire track. It's really based on this riff that was started, on keys. So the sample, and it's a sample instrument that I sampled my parents' baby grand Yamaha piano, and I just sat down and I pressed the notes for like 10 seconds each, and then I dropped them into Ableton and kind of created my own unique sample instrument that is like all over this song and the few other songs that I'm going to be releasing in the future. So essentially I created this sample instrument that I use kind of on a lower octave, and then I duplicated it and I played it at a higher octave. So here's the lower octave, and then I threw in the higher octave. And then behind the higher octave one, I probably cut out a lot of lows. And then my guess is on this one, I don't have any EQ on that piano, which is interesting. Probably have it somewhere. No, probably not, actually. Maybe that's why it's a muddy mix. I don't know. Definitely squashed the snot out of it with two separate compressors. And then for good measure, threw on this sketch cassette on top of the piano. So that's sort of that piano sound. And it's throughout the whole song, really. The Rhodes is just sort of got a phaser, and in a tremolo. Feels very like 70s Stevie Wonder-ish, kind of that vibe. And that's really texture underneath the other two. Then there's this part down here, which is the Mtron, kind of where this section comes in. I'm not going to solo it, so you'll hear it. Here. She loved only once, made it almost killed him. She loved only once, made it almost killed him. So it's almost like the horn section's coming in, and the horn section is completely made up of the Mtron Pro, which is a G4 software VST that emulates the Mellotron. And the Mellotron can be heard on everywhere. Kanye uses it. Obviously, the Beatles use it. The Zombies. It's kind of like this quintessential sound, and you'll hear it. I use it all the time. So we got like this 2 lower sax parts. I must have... Yeah, I have a little bit of Uber mod from Valhalla, so some chorus effect and then a compressor on it. But then I also have these 2 higher sax parts. And they kind of... It's like this. So like emphasizing this, hey, reharm coming, So it comes in after... She loved only once, made it almost killed him. Take out the vocals. So you hear that coming in there for that part, which I thought was really cool. For the chorus, I just kept it real simple. I just kind of... Just the Rhodes in the piano. The vocals really drive this one here. So here's the reharm. Coming back in. So then we get hit this instrumental. So let's just listen. So I have the keyboard kind of playing this thing. I have the pan flutes coming back in. Then I have this piano tape loop, which is basically taking a little piece of the piano and then running it through the tape loop to have a little bit more texture. I just was trying to find something. And then also this tape loop thing that I did in the beginning, kind of coming back in there. So that on top of the sort of rhythm section stuff that I have, I took this Foley from my trip to Sydney, Australia. I found this tunnel I really liked. I'm just like clapping. People are honking at me and stuff. I had the iPhone in my breast pocket, and I was just like recording. I just loved that sound of the clap, and how this tunnel really had like natural reverb in it. And then I added this little organ, what I call the organ Foxtrot beat, which is this old organ. It's a preset of this old church organ that we found in Boston when I lived there. There was an old Catholic church. I had access to it, and there was sort of this sleepy organ that nobody was using, and I loved just messing around with it. I would just go at night and play it. Nobody was around. And so then I ended up, acquiring it for free because nobody was using it, and they let me there. So I sampled tons of stuff off of that, but it's just a little like preset Foxtrot beat. So here's that little instrumental breakdown part. Back into the chorus. So that's the key section for the new single, Hand Rolled. You can check it out. Go ahead and listen to it. The link will be in the description. Yeah, hang on for the next video.